All right, we're live.
Boom. Episode 117. We gotta believe. Brought to you by, as always, our friends at Coors Light, the official beer slowing down summer. This is our last podcast of August. It's right around there. I mean, September is right around the corner. It's like right after the weekend. So summer is flying by, and try to just grasp those last few days of it. The unofficial end of summer, obviously, it's the end of cheese ball season. All that stuff is Labor Day weekend, and Labor Day's late this year. So we still have a little bit left. Don't let it go by. Get your Coors Lights out. It's like we said, it's the official beer slowing down summer. It's the official beer that's made to chill out. We've gone through an absolute again, the word gauntlet is the best way to describe what we've gone through, but try to enjoy the rest of the season. It's the best season for a reason. It's even if it's not baseball season, there's plenty of other things to love about summer: the sunshine, the beach, pretty much everything but baseball season is a reason to love summer. And Coors Light is the official beer slowing down summer because it's the beer that's made to chill. We want you to savor every second of summer. Get Coors Light in the new look delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Again, that's CoorsLight.com/believe. Get your pictures of you wearing the chill sunglasses, feeling better, just feeling better about life when those chill sunglasses are on, when the Coors Light is going down your throat. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Golden, Colorado. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I mean, the Mets have put my brain into an absolute flummox there, but Coors Light is the only thing that's getting us through this right now. The Blue Mountains, we were like, we don't need the Blue Mountains right now. We're good. We're in we're in first place. 4 games up. The Blue Mountains are there. This is Blue Mountain time, baby. If you're listening to this on Friday, August 27th, the gauntlet is over. If you're watching us live on YouTube right now, or you're getting it before the last game of the series, we have one more to go. I never want to see the Giants or the Dodgers ever again. Walter O'Malley, I wish you moved them to fucking Japan. I wish you moved the Dodgers there and do a whole nother league, because I don't need to see California baseball teams anytime soon.
It took teams that weren't even in our division to just completely derail and ruin my entire year.
Yes, that's all.
Like, how in the fuck?
It's kind of nice that it was not the Phillies or the Braves or the Nationals that ruined us. It was kind of nice the team I don't have to see or really hate. So they're across the country. Actually, let me make a note right now. We're doing this one without KFC. I don't know if KFC is cutting us out of his negative Mets fan purge, but it's me and Kyle for the day, so he'll be back, I'm sure, on Monday. But yeah, that's actually a great point, Kyle. There's something to be said about teams that, like, again, I don't have to see the Giants or the Dodgers play unless they're playing like a team in the East on an Eastern time, because I'm not staying up till 10 o'clock to watch like other baseball games or give a fuck about what's going on. All about is the 162 Mets play, and the last, what was it, 12 of 13 have been an absolute nightmare. Even the ones we won weren't fun to win. So it hasn't been fun this entire 2-week period. Like we knew. I was thinking about it too. Like, all of those extra inning games that we've had, I don't know the exact record, but there's been so many games where we wouldn't even have scored the runs that we scored or won the game had it not been for that new extra inning rule. So unless they figure some stuff out, next year would be brutal. I mean, looking at it even now, all the West Coast games that did go into extra innings when we were playing them, could you imagine how much longer those games would have been on West Coast time without a runner on second? And I hate the speed up rule, but I kind of like the speed up rule for playing West Coast teams. I love 7-inning baseball games, and you know what? Once the 7-inning games stop, that's when happiness stopped. I realized this is a team that was built for 7-inning baseball. Even though, like, we split all those doubleheaders, it just, I don't know. It just felt like, again, 500 at this rate. I just take 500 ball. Maybe it's because you can only do something like if you only score 2 or 3 runs in a 7-inning game. Like, if it was a 9-inning game, they would have scored a few more runs. Not this team, my friend. Not this team at all. And then, like you said, those extra inning man on second kind of just got things going. And like, I feel like we won those games more than we should have too. It's like we would always get like that 3-run bomb from an Alar, and everything kind of worked out. So the Corona rules have, in a weird, twisted way, been actually like all right to us, at least mentally.
They've kept us afloat all season.
Yeah.
They're the whole reason. All the rainouts, all the 7-inning games, all the extra inning rules, extra runs scored. Like, I mean, looking back at it now, you realize just how lucky we were getting, because we can't score for lick whatsoever. but it's kind of depressing when you think about it.
Yeah, and like with this offense, they weren't going to score if there was like a 16 inning game, like George says here. The Padres Dodgers won 16 innings yesterday at like 3:45 Eastern time. I don't need that in my life. I get this shit over with as soon as possible. If the offense can somehow cobble together a few runs, we'll be good. If not, whatever. We've talked about it in the past. We're going to be talking about it in the future, obviously in the offseason with the hot stove. Offense needs to be fixed. It's as broken as it gets. We got Javi back, which was, a little shot in the arm. Got Lindor back. Second game out already of the lineup, which he didn't do like the rehab assignment. So you're figuring they kind of had to do that. I don't know what the doctors are saying. What I will say this. It is sometimes better to be cautious with the way the Mets season has gone because everyone just gets fucking hurt anyway. It's like you get a guy back, another guy gets hurt. And then sometimes the guy come back and then he gets hurt again. How many times Jake's back? Jake's shut down and now he's on the IL. So Lindor sits a day after his return, pops up in a big spot at the plate, which hurt in the ninth inning.
That's the other thing. Have you ever seen so many infield pop-ups in your life?
No.
I mean, you got Pete Alonso getting a little jam job to second base, bases loaded. Like, he knows what he's getting there, and he can't hit the ball and put it in play hard. Which, for him, I mean, I'm not going to shit on Pete because out of everybody, like, he actually does hit the ball hard. But you got McNeil swinging at the first pitch when that one drove me crazy. When they changed pitchers, very first pitch, he pops up to the second baseman. Like, the approach is just god-awful.
It's if Hugh Quattlebaum was a real person, I would be very angry at him right now. But again, he is not a real human being. There's no human that has the name Hugh Quattlebaum. That is the name of like the fucking name of an algorithm created in YouTube. It's not an actual person's name. I don't know if he's like a fucking robot that's been uploaded into or whatever. I don't care what kind of physical person you tell me is Hugh Quattlebaum. He's not real, and he sucks. The algorithm, the YouTube channel, whatever the fuck Hugh Quattlebaum is, sucks. As does Chili Davis. I saw Buster Olney was trying to dunk on Mets fans who, listen, Mets fans were all over Buster Olney's mentions for, months on end when they started just hitting a little bit and they were just, chirping him nonstop. He tried to chirp them back with being like, well, the Mets had 3.8 runs per game with Quattlebaum and 3.3 with Chili Davis. And it's like, yeah, asshole, that's a half a run better, which feels like the greatest vacation of all time, and it still sucks. It's still an absolute nightmare. But he like that's how you know you're fighting a losing fight against the fan base is when you're just like basically tattling on yourself, being like these numbers are better than the old numbers, but they still suck. So Buster Olney's become like a legitimate like the Mets fans. Yeah. They've revolted against the mainstream media, and now we're also obviously revolting against ourselves. It's just a fucking disaster, and it all comes back to just the offense. It's just the offense that is like the real problem here. You knew the pitching was going to falter at some point because they were overtaxed and they had shit luck with injuries. The defense has been good, but the offense is, that's the cause of death here.
Has there ever been a person whose job is like such an afterthought? There is no way in my mind that Hugh Quattlebaum has a job next season. 0%. No. I am willing to put my stamp on that. 0%. Old takes exposed. Come get me. Like, that is 100% going to be the case. And if he honestly, they'd probably fire him now if he wasn't already the interim from Chile. Could you imagine we had to fire 2 hitting coaches in the same season?
And yeah, that I feel like is the problem here. It's like you can't really go for like 3 hitting coaches, and then you're gonna get all the Steinbrenner comparisons. I can't believe that he's hired 3 hitting coaches in his first year as owner. Blah blah blah.
Right. Do you think Rojas makes it through the season?
So I think everyone heard the fire Rojas chants last night during, on Wednesday night during the game, which, by the way, I did not see that coming. I'm not surprised. I think the fan base has had it up to here. You take out Taijuan Walker with 74 pitches. And again, I like this is the hardest part about being a fan in this analytical age. I do not know who makes these calls, and they'll never admit it, right? Why would you? We heard the report about Brody making calls from his living room couch and shit like that. I feel like it's only gotten worse now that Cohen's in and they have a much more analytical front office. It's like
him covering his ass by saying like that was always the plan, no matter what would have happened, like transpired in the game. That's total bullshit. There's no way that there's an error and there's a runner on base and then you're like, well, you know what, I'm going to pull him. And 1,000%, like eye test statistics aside, like you have to leave Walker in. But if you're going to go to somebody, Loop's the guy you want to go to in that situation, and it just blew up in his face.
That's the worst part, and that is like the epitome of this season, of this run, whatever you want to call it. It's like anything that could go wrong went wrong. It was 2 errors. It was a Familia inning, right? How many times have we seen Familia where it's like the guy commits an error, a blue pick gets in, and then everything just goes wrong? And that's the thing. Like if those two plays are made, or at least just one of them, Taiwan might stay in, get out of it. We're going, all right, we took one against the Giants. Maybe we win the series tonight. And instead, it's just pandemonium, panic city, and all that shit.
And by the way, all the commentators who were saying, oh, Walker can't do that. He can't show up as manager on the mound. Like, he's the reason for the fire calls and all that shit. These are the same people who all month have said, oh, the team's being too positive. They're, like, living in a fantasy world. Like, they're not showing that they actually care about it. Like, he's showing emotion on the mound saying, what the fuck are you doing? Like, are you not watching the same game as I'm pitching? Like, yeah. I'm cruising here. Why would you take me out? I'd rather see that. And, like, yeah, you're throwing your guy under the bus, but at the same time, it's like, come out and have a conversation with him before you – that drives me insane. 74 pitches. If you're the manager, come out and have a conversation before you make the decision and see where his head's at. The guys who are already, like, tapping their arm on the way out to the mound, like, yeah, you deserve to get motherfucked on his way back to the dugout.
Yeah, because you're not coaching, you're not coaching and not managing at that point, right? You're
right.
just going, you're not even asking the guy's opinion. And again, 74 pitches. And trust me, there was plenty of times where I was like, I think I've seen enough of Taiwan Walker today. Last night was not one of those times, right. And that's what kind of just hurts. It's like, and then you're the bullpen now for today in a game has a little extra tax because you used your guys last night. You used Loop, and then you had Lugo come in, and that's the thing too. Loop has been unbelievable this year. Loop, there it is, has been basically the call of 2021. And I know in 2022, he's going to not be nearly as good because that's just the way fucking bullpens work. But the fact that it's him, they get the one first extra base hit against a lefty, right? That was his first extra base hit allowed this year.
Yes.
And it's like, it is what it is. That's baseball, Susan. It fucking sucks. And when things go bad, they go terrible. That's just the way baseball works. And what can you do? Like, I can't even get upset about it. It's just, that's the way it goes. And you have it here. Giants have the best record in baseball. They're fucking, like, you watch them, and outside of, like, they had the Chris Bryant error and then them colliding in the outfield. Other than that, everything they've done basically every series has just been like, oh, that's the way it's done. Like, that's like, Brandon Crawford up the middle, nice fucking play there. They take the extra base. And they've had a couple fuck ups too. I'm not going to say they've been perfect, but 99% of the time, it's like, that is how you play baseball right there. We need to do that. And we have guys who we think are awesome, and they're just not producing at all. And Pete, I think Pete's going into a cold streak right now, and I can't even get mad at him because he's been the only reason we've had any offense this entire time. And again, you take advantage of the mistakes the teams against you make. They shouldn't have even tied that game up last night. Chris Bryant makes that routine play. We lose the game without it even being tied and stuff like that. And there was a time to blow it open. They don't blow it open, and you walk away with an L. That's just what this season has been for the whole fucking year.
You could tell like that's the way the whole schedule has been trending anyway, because anytime we have a lead, it's usually something that, like, the other team did to let us into the game, or like their pitcher had, like, a bad inning or whatever the case may be. Like, that's baseball, but at the same time, it always feels like we're going to steal this one. Like, we're going to steal this game. That can't be the first thought of, like, because today Cookie Carrasco's pitching. So, like, yesterday, did we need to steal that game? Like, yes, because today is going to be a crapshoot if he continues to pitch the way he has been. And it's like, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I know they want to, like, rush Jake back for the middle of September, but not for nothing. By the time that comes, we might be completely out of it.
You're going to have to give me a coach judge lap for that, Kyle, because you called him Cookie. We do not call this Cookie Carrasco. 8.80, or I believe is what he's at right now. That's a communion wafer, tasteless. It is the body of my Lord and Savior, but it is a tasteless thing that you just have to have faith in. That's what Cookie Carrasco is. I literally have to have faith. Now I've thrown a lap. Communion wafer Carrasco. I got to have faith that he's going to turn it around, because I have never seen him. I've never seen good Carlos Carrasco on the Mets, and I've never seen Jesus Christ. I have to believe they both exist somewhere in this universe, or have existed, and are able to do the things people tell me they can do. Because I'm telling you, turning water into wine, I'm more likely to see that than I am to see Carlos Carrasco go out and pitch a fucking quality start and just shut down an offense for a day. So we'll see how that kind of goes. And talking about pitchers that we need, DeGrom's clear to throw. They said he was had a little pep in his step around the clubhouse. The MRI came back good. The MRI is like the only thing better than Jacob deGrom this year is his MRI performance.
Yeah.
Because he's like undefeated in MRIs, yet he's not pitching. He's hurt. There's inflammation, all this kind of shit. The guy's arm is probably radioactive at that. Did you lose me there? Uh-oh. Now you're sounding like a robot now. Everyone's watching us go. We're going through our shit right now on YouTube live.
Live.
Uh-oh. Kyle's a robot. Let's restart it. Can we restart it?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Gotta love technology. Anytime I go to the second floor of this office where it's quieter, it's just
I was on a fucking spiel there. I don't even know where you lost me.
right after DeGrom, he's on a heater for his MRI, and that might be the better part of his season is that his MRI results are still positive.
His MRI results are coming back positive. The Mets have seemingly found a loophole about, not being able to use sticky stuff, not able to use steroids. Nope, you just keep pumping the guy's arm into an MRI machine, and he's going to be radioactive and be able to throw 200 miles per hour. And that's the most frustrating thing is he keeps coming back positive. But at this rate with Jake, you say he knows his body. If he's feeling good, he's looking good, he's acting good, you feel like he's in a good spot. And then it comes to the point where it's like, where do you really, start – is it just catch? Do you ramp him up if you get within like 4 games of the playoffs? I don't really know the answer to that. And it's one of those things that's going to be a fluid situation. You're chasing 2 teams. And like the biggest thing here is, 2021, 96, going to be tough. World Series, going to be tough. Admitting both those things right now. At some point, when are you saying, all right, 2022, we need Jake to be our fucking nuclear weapon that is always there, ready to, drop the bomb and stop the losing streak at any given point? Because these games, I guess they'd be a little different if Jake was pitching because he'd at least we'd have his bat in the lineup because they were still losing 3-2, whether it's Jake or no Jake. But at least, Taijuan Walker as a lefty was like the best offensive player we had last night. It's fucking bananas.
It's also like, what's the to your point about 2022? What is the point? More MRIs than earned runs. Yeah, and you got this guy who I'm listening on the radio last week, and to people that don't know what they're talking about, like, oh, maybe you should just shut him down. He should have surgery. It's just inflammation in his forearm because he's throwing 8 miles an hour faster than he was 2 years ago, and his body can't control it anymore. But you can't, and this is the other thing, you can't have this guy sit out and then every single time he comes back does something fucking weird that the fan base can then latch onto. So the first time he hurt his back, there's pictures of him leaping, playing shortstop before the game. The second time, he's being like the bullpen catcher on the field. And then yesterday, he's throwing lefty. Like, why the visual when the team is struggling? Are you going to just have them latch onto something like, oh, now Jake can throw lefty? Like, he's probably still be our 5th best option, which honestly probably still would be. But at the same time, it's like just wrap him in bubble tape. If at this point, if it's gonna cause any more stress to his arm or his back or any other part of his body. What's the most he's going to get out of it? 2 starts?
Yeah.
Maybe?
And
2 starts really going to change our season one way or the other? I would love to see him again, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's like, what are we doing here?
It's like, oh, if we needed pitching, we're like, oh, we just need pitching. Our offense has been hot, but they can't get enough pitching. It's the opposite. We're just going to lose 1-0. Who gives a fuck about? Again, Jake's bat in the lineup might be the more important thing than his actual pitching. So, that's kind of the thing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And we talked about it. We talked about it a little bit on Frank's podcast. Kyle and I went on Frank's podcast last night. We chopped it up. We talked, the Frank is right. Shut the fuck up, Frank. Movements both going on simultaneously on Twitter. We talked about the retirement match, which he did not agree to and will not agree to because he says he doesn't want to root against the Mets, even though I feel like he roots against the Mets every single day of his life. And I mean, we're just hitting a blockade too because I'm saying, all right, Frank, like, if you don't want to say like the Mets are different than if the Cohen era is not different than the Wilpons, then what do you think? What is your problem? He's like, well, the Mets are going to give Luis Rojas a 3-year extension this winter, which, by the way, Rojas's contract, there's an option for 2022. The Mets have not picked it up, so he is currently not slated to be our manager next year. I don't think he's going to be our manager. Frank says they're going to give him a 3-year extension, so I can't like negotiate I'm basically negotiating with a terrorist right now. The man he doesn't have anything he stands on, and he just says the most preposterous shit. He said they're going to give Luis Rojas a contract. Sandy's going to come back for like another 5 years. So he's just giving me a bunch of nonsense. Then he tells me he's going to be pissed if they don't, bring back Baez, but then he doesn't want Baez back. He wants Chris Bryant, but then when I remind him Chris Bryant's agent is Boris, he's like, well, I don't want to deal with that. So I don't know what I'm negotiating with the fucking Frankie Taliban right now. I don't know what to do with the guy. So there's no retirement match coming. Again, I'm going to get the Yankees fans chirping at me. Portnoy's going to do his troll thing. There's really no way to go about it. Shut the fuck up, Frank, is kind of the way it goes. And the thing about Frank is, you saw it on the podcast. He does want the Mets to be good. He wants them to be good, but he also wants to just scream and yell and cry about it the entire time. So we're really at an impasse here. I'm just going to be the logical Mets fan, as I've always been. He's going to be the illogical Sith Lord Mets fan, as he's always been. And we're just going to basically do this dance until either the offseason we make the right moves that make him happy, and then the minute the guy goes 0 for 4, he's going to be pissed. There's really no way around it. We're at a stalemate. That is the chess, lingo for it.
I think this offseason is going to be like the pruning of the sacred timeline, where we were supposed to have Cohen a year earlier, where he was buying the team. We were supposed to have Beltran. We ended up with this weird branch off of reality where he took over, but he didn't have the team that he was supposed to have. And I could see them honestly retreading on Beltran because he doesn't have the Wilpon stench on him. The word out on the street was that Cohen loved Beltran and the hiring and all that stuff. Because if you remember, this was while the negotiations were going on for him to buy the team the first time. So you'd have to imagine he had some sort of approval on who the new manager was going to be.
Yeah, no, I heard he was pissed.
I don't think Rojas is the guy, and I don't think that he's going to get a second chance here or a third chance basically at this point. Brody's gone. Mickey's gone. There's only one guy remaining, and it's not looking too good for him.
Yeah, and look, Ross seems like a nice guy, like you said on the podcast last night too. He was never meant to be the manager. He was supposed to be like, quality assurance guy. The whole Beltran disaster went up. That was a Wilpons issue, and again, fucking everyone else is back managing except for Carlos Beltran, who really got the short end of the stick, which is peak Mets. The fact that the Mets even got lumped into, a World Series championships won by the Red Sox and the Astros, and the Mets somehow are the team that gets completely butt-fucked in the end of it. That's a Wilpon thing. That is a different era. And I did hear from multiple sources who I trust on this shit, my Cohen guys, all told me, Stevie was pissed when they fired Beltran because at that point he thought he was getting the team. He liked Beltran. He probably likes how he kind of goes in that the black edge, right? It's like Carlos found the fucking remember people were going crazy because Beltran and Delgado, they'd be scouting pitchers, and Delgado had his notebook, which people calling out Delgado's notebook as a form of cheating. That's how we've just completely lost it as a baseball society. But I personally would I'd welcome Beltran back with open arms. I would also push Rojas away with open arms. Listen, I think he kind of got a shit deal in terms of it was a Corona season followed by an uneven weird season. You got to fucking win games though. He missed the playoffs when more teams made the playoffs than missed it last year in the Corona year. Mm-hmm. And this year he had a team that on paper was 90 plus wins, all that kind of stuff. And it's it's not his fault the offense isn't in it. It's also you're the manager, something has to give. You have to figure out a way to make it work. And, showing up every day, clapping it up, even during the replace Mets bench mob era, that was cool. But at the end of the year, it's you have to have the results. And unless he fucking goes on a miracle run here, they're not going to make the playoffs. So
we were winning despite the replacements. That's kind of where we were peak. That's where we took over and got a run at this thing where we were 10 games up was when none of the players that were supposed to be actually playing were playing. The amount of games and the fact that Walker and Stroman have the ERAs that they do with part-time DeGrom, we should already be in the thick of things of being are we going to be a 2 seed or a 3 seed when this thing comes down to it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane.
And this is the thing, like the Mets are going to change managers at some point, you would think. I don't know if he'll get fired. I don't think he'll get fired this season because he didn't even have a full season last year, but I'd also be fine with it if they like put Joust in. Dave Joust, like he comes in, Rojas gets ejected, Mets win. That seems to be a pretty consistent theme that I've seen this year. Plus, everyone loves Dave Joust. The guy, wins home run derbies, greatest batting practice pitcher in the history of the planet. Went on Part of My Take, which makes him even more likable. I mean, and you listened to that interview? That was an awesome interview.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone who hasn't listened to that, it was right after the All-Star break, so it was some point in like early July. Check out that interview with Dave Joust. He's like just an awesome baseball lifer and just like a cool ass dude. I'd be like,
who don't you think is going to be fired?
What?
Who don't you think is being fired?
Hefner. Jeremy Hefner is the only guy who I can think isn't going to be fired. And I don't think you'll fire Joust. I think like DeSarcina at third base could go too, which was another sticking point for Frank, obviously. Frank gets mad about like the painting on the walls of a house. He doesn't worry about like the structure crumbling. He's like, I don't like the color of this room. It's like, Frank, we could paint that in like a day. It'll be no problem. But I think like you basically can just clean house, and I think Cohen's going to do that. And you want to start up at Sandy. I think Sandy can go too. I think he's ready to go. He's an older guy. I think he had to be brought in, I think, to kind of shake hands and make good with all the owners as he came in. But at some point, like it is his team, and you can't be like, oh, the Mets are performing up to snuff this year. And it starts with, I think, the approach, which is a Sandy thing. It starts at the top. And I like Sandy. I think Sandy with like an actual owner that wants to spend could be fine. But I also think the power structure has been fucked up since they couldn't get the baseball of operations. Jared Porter was a creep. It's been a fucking shit show in the front office. And if you want to say Cohen is the next Wilpon, I think you're completely wrong. If you want to say the Mets are cursed at the fundamental core of this franchise, there was something done in 1962, the black magic voodoo, whatever it took to get another baseball team here after the Dodgers and Giants went west. If you want to say that's the case, and like the Jared Porter nonsense and all just like all the injuries and the setbacks and the weird kind of shit that always seems to be circular on this franchise. If you want to say that is a fucking juju thing, I believe in juju, especially in baseball. That's fine. But don't call Cohen the next Wilpon. And I think Stevie's going to bring in guys he wants, especially on the executive level. And I think it's going to then trickle down. I think Rojas is definitely gone next year. And again, I feel bad for the guy. It seems like I'd be fine with him being another part of the organization, but I think he kind of just had to clean house with these guys because the Wilpons were famous for recycling guys, whether it was Omar, or
it was also fucking just expecting him to come in and be able to throw his money at any problem we ever had, and every team blocked us from interviewing the guys that we actually wanted. Like, yeah, I wanted Billy Owens. I know we interviewed him, and like in my mind, he should have been the guy that became the GM because of his connection with Sandy. But the fact that we're saying Sandy's name week in and week out, that should tell you all you need to know about the season in general. He wasn't even supposed to be anywhere near the face of baseball. He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the field. He was supposed to be the backroom guy who just has his chess pieces on the board and lets the game play out the way it's supposed to play out. Like, at no point is he supposed to be the guy signing anybody, negotiating with anybody. He's supposed to have a power structure. We were supposed to have 2 GMs that would branch off from Sandy. We don't even have 1 GM.
We have a GM. We have Zach Scott, who's basically answers questions to the media every week. That's all we really have.
He's basically like the White House correspondent, where he just goes up there and just says whatever he's the mouthpiece. That's it. Yep. And if you're going to have a successful offseason, you're going to get a new manager, and you're going to expect these free agent players that you're going to go and try to sign to come here, they need to know what they're coming into from the start. So you need to address it almost immediately, where if Rojas isn't the guy, he needs to be fired right away. I don't think we're going to get Theo, because I think that he's being groomed for a top position, like maybe a Joe Torre-esque type of spot, where he's going to be like the protector of new baseball, whereas Joe was kind of like Joe fucked up with the replay and all that kind of stuff. So like they need somebody else that's going to help the game grow and all that stuff. He's not coming to the Mets. Like if you think Theo's coming to the Mets, I would be entirely shocked if that was ever going to be the case. But we do need somebody. And probably 2 somebodies or 3 somebodies if we're going to have a run at this, where you want to go get Nick Castellanos, you want to go get, I don't know, a third baseman, just any third baseman really at this point. Sorry,
anyone but JD Davis.
Then you need to have people here beforehand so that they can look at the team and go, okay, I'm coming into something that's stable. I'm coming into something that like I know what it's going to become. Because right now we don't even know what it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like they closed on the sale, and then it was like they're getting everything in. And I don't know how much of the issues we had in terms of teams blocking or guys turning down requests for interviews was like a timing thing. It was, we're still in a pandemic, but that was, during the pandemic, a lot of uncertain times, moving to New York City, which was the epicenter for the pandemic earlier in the year. There was a lot of shit going on last year. And again, like you said, it's the timeline thing. If we had Uncle Stevie buying that team, it would have been for a little more money, but before the 2020 season, and then he kind of has the Corona season to kind of purge whatever bullshit he doesn't want from the organization. 21's his first full year, and then 22, it's like, all right, now we're going to the fucking moon. That would have been nice. That's not the case, though, but I'm happy that we have him here instead of the Wilpons here, which is, again, I feel like people don't really see the big picture in that. And we talked about this with Frank, too. Frank is like, he hasn't done anything. I'm like, well, he signed Francisco Lindor to a $340 million contract. The Wilpons, that's like twice the price of any contract the Wilpons have ever given out. Yeah. So, like, if you're just going to ignore that, then we cannot have a debate about anything there. And Sandy is kind of, like you said, he's Dante from Clerks. He's not even supposed to be working today. Like, he was supposed to just be sitting at home, fucking basically being, a figurehead for the franchise, probably giving his thoughts on some big picture shit. And I feel like he's been doing a lot more. I do think maybe Sandy's approach or whatever, his strategy is kind of been, rolled over by these newer analytics guys that, the Rays or the A's that, continue to pump out wins. But the offense just needs to be fixed. That's the bottom line. I think we can go a lot. We have to look at the free agent lists. I know Marte is out there in center field. He's having an awesome season. Like I said, Castellanos is reportedly going to opt out, and he'll be again. I said this on Twitter. Nick Castellanos going to the Mets and being able to just fucking hit a home run every time a broadcaster in the Mets booth said something, tragic. That's the guy was made for the New York Mets, right? It's like, forget about being made for Citi Field. He's made for the franchise. we're talking tragedies all the time, Gary, Keith, and Ron. We're fake killing guys in the fucking organization. We have guys getting hurt. We have just, nonsensical. We have the stadium lighting on fire. Mr. Met giving the finger. Every single time they have to bring up something there, or Gary's refuses to mention the 7 line, we can just go ahead and there's a drive by Castellano to the deep left, 4-0 ball game. That guy might be the perfect guy for us. I haven't looked at third base. Obviously, Bryant's the guy, but that's a Boris guy. You have probably a lot of bad blood with the Kumar Rocker shit. There's going to probably be some bad blood with the Conforto negotiations, right? Because how do you offer that guy anything more than the qualifying offer? Now, we're both on the record. We want the qualifying offer for Conforto, even though he's absolutely sucked this year. Yeah, we want him to offer it, not accept it.
No, right, exactly. Conforto's on the record being like, I'm making my own decision, like, Boris works for me. If I want to stay, I'm going to stay. I mean, he'd have to really bet on himself if he's going to take the qualifying offer. The qualifying offer is going to have to be it's max. That's how it works. So he's going to get a lot of money for that 1 year, which is what Stroman did. He got $18 million this year, and Stroman bet on himself. And guess what? Now Stroman's going to bend us over a barrel if we want to try to bring him back.
Yep.
So if Conforto wants to try to do that, more power to him. We're going to make him a part-time guy, and we'll go get somebody else or whatever the case may be. Maybe he does have a bounce back year, but no shot we're even considering an extension talk with him. It's qualifying offer or get the fuck out, and we'll take the extra draft pick.
Yeah, I hope that whoever, they say scouting your own players is more important than scouting the other team's players, so and I hope and again, I've been a Conforto guy forever now, but there are some times where he just drives you crazy. When he's hot, but when he's cold, he is fucking ice. And there was, the clutch stats and all the stupid stats you can go either way. So I'm just going to hope they make whatever decision independent of just this nightmare year based on, his past and all that kind of stuff. And like Noel says, KB wants to stay with the Giants. I know Bryant's a Vegas guy, and I'm sure he's a West Coast dude. And I mean, would you want to play for this fan base? I mean, we know Kevin is the second most dark-souled person in terms of Mets Twitter outside of Frank is KFC. And he's even gotten too far with Mets fans. He's blocking them, muting them, trying to purge them from his life. If you're a baseball player, it's don't you just want to get paid a shitload of money just to play in San Francisco and just fucking, probably be in Silicon Valley, working on his KB brand or whatever the fuck he's going to be doing. It just seems like Javi Baez is kind of made for us because there's the ups and downs, highs and lows, swinging at pitches that are bouncing off the pitcher's mound. There's a lot of things that I feel like Javi is just we're like destined to be together. It's fucking Ronnie and Sammy Sweetheart. Just two fucking knuckleheads.
If he gets that contract, something's gone terribly wrong. He wants $200 million to strike out more than anybody else in the entire league. Like, you got another thing coming, my man. And if we're gonna move the players that we think aren't gonna fit into the core anymore, like I know we're both in agreement on JD. I think we're split on McNeil. I don't really know where you're at with McNeil, but both of those guys have 2 to 3 years worth of control with arbitration. You could go trade that to a team that's actually rebuilding, and we can get some like big pieces and just take over the salary. Like that's the difference. That is the difference between the Wilpons and the Cohen.
Yes.
It's going to be, we have a major league talent that we're trying to trade. We don't want to give you our prospects, but we will recoup whatever you're trying to get rid of in that salary, and we'll give you this guy that has all these years of control. Give us 2 of your major league players that you're trying to get rid of right now.
Yes.
Like, we have a lot in terms of that. I don't want them to touch the minor league top 3, 4, 5 right now, because I think that those guys could potentially be good. But if you have 2 players, and you know where I stand on Dom, but potentially 3 players that you can move to put together like an actual core of like the guys that you think are going to win. When you look at the Giants, they're like the dream, like not the dream team, but they're like the Miracle on Ice team, where like none of the players really make sense on paper when you look at their names and stuff, but working together as a unit, it just, for one reason or another, none of these guys that are like huge names, with the exception of like 2 of them, win a ton of baseball games. Like that's what we actually need.
Yeah. No, and then you go back to their manager, right? Gabe Kapler was kind of like Rojas. He was this jack dude that, was in the organization with the Phillies. They moved him the fuck out, goes to the Giants, and now he's, the skipper of the best team in baseball. So it goes to show you, like, it kind of just starts at the top. The manager's going to look good or bad. And this is the thing. Whenever the Mets hire a new manager, we're going to hate them. We're going to go crazy about it. That's what managers do. There was like, everyone waxes poetic about when I see people waxing poetic about Terry Collins now that he's gone. That's how I know that it's one of those things that you just think about your ex-girlfriend or something like that. They always seem better. I mean, it's Kodachrome shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
it's also like baseball is probably the one sport where you can just get lucky. You can just catch the wave at the right time, where Terry's managed more games than any other Mets manager in history because he came in when they were complete dog shit. So it was just like, well, you have a job for the next 5 years because we're not expecting to be good anyway. And then they did get good, and it was like, well, you just bought yourself another like 3 years. So it's like it's all dependent on the product on the field versus every other sport where it actually has some sort of significance in my mind.
Yeah.
Frank thinks that Rojas has lost us 20 games this year. Like, I don't think it's the case.
Yeah, again, and I don't it's a kind of a cop-out, but I truly believe that a lot of these teams, and I think we're one of them, just like the Yankees, I think the manager is like a guy who just makes sure everyone in the clubhouse is happy, make sure the media has someone they can talk to, and that is it. He's kind of the scapegoat for fans, but all the other shit is done by not even like a person, a computer, and then it's passed down. And that's talking about the shifts. That's talking about Taijuan Walker coming out after 74 pitches. That's the lineups, all that kind of shit. I mean, again, you would think Dom can hit lefties, and we don't play him against lefties. It's just one of those things that just drives you absolutely crazy to see. And I have to think a computer is saying that, because there's no man who would just keep fucking sitting Dom against lefties when he's a guy that can hit lefties. So, again, this was the end of the gauntlet. 5-8 would have been a fucking dream. That's what, Kevin and Meek Phil didn't want to sign. I think I signed up for it, but nonetheless, I don't think anyone could have seen the way this all unfolded. Actually, we probably knew it in the core of our hearts that this could definitely happen, but it's the same shit. It was the offense coming up short, again, against better pitching than some of the stuff they've done. But this is the time. We have to go on a run. It's now or never. It's we got the Nats, right? Nats this weekend. Then we got the Marlins, right? We have a lot of Nats and Marlins coming up.
We got double headers coming up too. There's a bunch.
7-inning baseball, baby. 7-inning baseball. Let's get back to the basics. We got Nats, Marlins, Yankees. Obviously, that's September 11th weekend, which is going to be, emotional and big time thing. And the Yankees are fucking a wagon all of a sudden. Yankees, Cardinals, Phillies, Boston, Brewers. So it gets ugly there. So you got to base
on the Clinton Council year.
the Clem Kunsel meter. I mean, so I said I wouldn't Kunsel until the California Gauntlet is over, and I'm not going to Kunsel now just because I do think the Braves and Phillies are already starting to come back a little bit to the pack. After playing some decent teams. It's this. Let's see. So it's Washington, Miami, Washington, Miami. I mean, before that Yankee series, it's like I could just Kunsel then. You know what I mean? So okay. I'm going to give you this. By the end of the first Miami series, so on September 2nd, so a week from today, I will have if we go like 2-4 during that, and the Braves and Phillies win, that's probably a Kunsel. That's we're in orange now, like deep, like a reddish orange, a burnt sienna, if you may, a burnt sienna color. That's where I am right now in the Kunsel meter. But if they shit the bed in those 6 games, and then the Phillies and Braves are 5-1 in their games, I mean that's a hard Kunsel because again you then have another bunch of games against the Nats and Marlins, and then you have it's a non-California gauntlet with Yankees, Cards, Phillies, Red Sox, Brewers. I mean, and then you're into the season, Miami, Atlanta. So it's just like with the Giants. The NFC East was so bad we were alive all the way till the end. The NL East, I've been through this, a few months ago. The NL East is so bad we still are alive, but it's a very much fake alive zombie Mets living we're going through right now. How about you? Where are you on the Kunsel meter?
Like my bags are packed and they're by the door, but I don't have a destination like time yet. So it's one of those things where it's like a go bag. Like you're just waiting for the Fed to come knock on your door so you can get out real quick. I won't know when it's gonna happen. It's gonna be that just a feeling. Like right now, I'm pretty numb with what's going on because you're just kind of coming to terms with it. Like you don't. Yeah. This wasn't how you expected it to go down the stretch. We thought we were gonna have meaningful games in September. Technically, we still will, but at the same time, it's just like you just have that numb, defeated type of feeling. But that could easily flip if they somehow go on a run here. I'm like 1 minute to midnight type of thing on the doomsday clock.
Yeah, exactly. Threat level midnight. We'll go off the style. It just feels like the Mets are due to go for their run now. And if the offense prevents them from doing it, and if you can't do it against whatever the Nationals and Marlins are throwing out, then it's over. Like if the offense can't answer the bell, and they haven't answered the bell against them in the past, which is why I won't be shocked if it happens. But it's like, I've seen enough baseball to know we should just have it's almost like this team when they load the bases in the ninth. It's like this team is not going to let us down easy. They are going to fucking lift us up, and then they're going to fucking throw a spear through our hearts. They're not going to make this easy, and that's why I can't just be like Kunsel. I could just do it, and like you said, when you have a team that loses the same way every night, the way this team does, or the way the team did in 2019 with the bullpen, or shitty teams with shitty starters, it's like you just get numb. When you lose in different ways, at least you'd be like, all right, like if that offense comes, tomorrow, but the pitching shows up, we'll be all right. This has just been the same malaise that it feels like a Kunsel, but the NL East will not allow us to Kunsel. They are just keep dragging us back.
It's like you're the cashier getting berated day after day, and you just sit there and you take it, and then some little tiny thing that shouldn't normally bother you happens, and you just fucking snap, and you're like, that's it. That's where I'm going to be at. It'll be something so innocuous where it's just like not that big of a deal, but just like it could just be news. It doesn't even have to be on the field. I'm just like, you know what? Fuck this. I can't believe that I wasted all this time. That's usually how my Kunsels come. It's nothing like crazy. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just more of like the final straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, it's again, it was Travis d'Arnaud playing second base against the Yankees. I was like, Kunsel, there was a million different reasons I could have done it due to the actual team play, but it was just the preposterousness of it against the Yankees, which that September 11th weekend against the Yankees, that is just tailor-made for just a mass consolation for anyone that somehow made it through, because the Yankees are hot. They're fucking looking like World Series. Their fans are getting loud again after they, straight up turtled for months on end and were motherfucking every single person on the team, Cashman and Boone and everything else, Judge, Giancarlo.
That was like a totally different ball club on both sides. We scored like 8 runs. Like early against them.
We should have fucking just traded for Rizzo. Everything would have been fine. We didn't even need him in the lineup. It would have been 3 first basemen, but just having Rizzo on the team would have somehow fixed everything, I think. But yeah, so we are teetering. And again, we have a lot of people already in Kunsalina. I hope you guys enjoy it. I kind of want to get to the point where I can visit you guys and we could just throw some daiquiris on, but I mean, at the end of it all, through all the ups and the downs, and again, and because the negative motherfuckers who are screaming about this team and hitting me with the hashtags, I have to just man the battlefield. If it's not going to be anyone else, if it's not going to be, if KFC's muting everyone, me and Kyle have to kind of just stay there, take our lumps at least until this fucking run of NL East patsies. If they fucking shove it up our ass, they shove it up our ass. You do, you do. But until that day, until the big C word is dropped, until we hit threat level midnight, gotta believe.
Gotta believe.